In the news, Roger E. Mosely, actor on Magnum PI, dies at 83. He also starred as a blues slash folk legend in Leadbelly and was a regular in blaxploitation films like The Mac. Survivors also include his wife, Antoinette. They were together for nearly 60 years, son Brandon, grandson Austin, and Rashawn, among his many nieces and nephews. Born on December 18, 1938, Roger Earl Mosley was raised by his mother, Eloise, in the Imperial Courts Project in Watts. He was a wrestler in high school and swimming coach in the neighborhood. As recounted in a 1976 People story, Mosley was studying acting under Raymond St. Jacques at the Mafundi Institute, a community art school in Watts, when a director from Universal came to lecture the students on self-sacrifice and said, quote, "I know actors who had to eat ketchup sandwiches," end quote. Mosley got up and shouted, quote, "You have the audacity to tell us to eat ketchup sandwiches for our art? I know people who are eating ketchup sandwiches to survive. We need somebody to give us a break," end quote. The director invited Mosley to visit the studio the next week. Ashe, may Roger E. Mosley rest in peace.
Rest in peace. And another Ashe we have recently, the entertainment industry, Olivia Newton-John has transitioned. Singer and actress dead at 73. Olivia Newton-John, the Australian singer whose breathy voice and wholesome beauty made her one of the biggest pop stars of the 70s and charmed generations of viewers in the blockbuster movie Grease, died on Monday according to a statement from her husband. She was 73. Dame Olivia Newton-John passed away peacefully in her ranch in Southern California this morning, surrounded by families and friends. We ask that everyone please respect the family's privacy during this very difficult time, her husband John Easterling wrote in a statement on the singer's verified Instagram account. Olivia has been a symbol of triumphs and hope for over 30 years, sharing her journey with breast cancer. The singer revealed in September 2018 that she was treating cancer at the base of her spine. It was her third cancer diagnosis following bouts with breast cancer in the early 90s and in 2017. Thanks to a string of country and soft rock hits, Newton John was already a popular singer by the late 1970s, but her co-starring role opposite John Travolta in 1978's Grease, arguably the most popular movie musical of all time, lifted her to a new level of stardom. Ashe, rest in peace, Olivia Newton John. And yeah, Grease was one of my favorite movies. It was iconic.
Yeah, may she rest in peace. And we also want to mention that a Motown legend, Lamont Dozier of Holland, Dozier in Holland, also passed away. He predominantly, along with that team, wrote a lot for Motown. It looks like he was 81 when he passed away. So may he rest in peace as well.
Another icon ancestor, rest in peace.
Nigeria welcomes UK move to return looted artifacts. The Benin plaque of Chief Uwankwe and Portuguese traders is one of the objects being returned to Nigeria. Nigeria's National Commission for Museum and Monuments has welcomed a decision by British curators to return artifacts that were looted in the 19th century from what was then the Kingdom of Benin. A legal advisor to the commission, Babatunde Adebiyi, told the BBC he hoped some of the 72 objects would be on display in Nigeria later this year. On Sunday, the Horniman Museum in London said it was both moral and appropriate to give the items back. They include brass plaques known as Benin bronzes and a key to the king's palace. Mr. Adebiyi said agreements had also been reached with American museums and Glasgow City Council for looted artifacts to be returned to Nigeria this year. Good for them. I mean, Europeans, I mean, they've looted, stole, robbed so many specifically artifacts that would, came out of, our ancestral lands in Africa. I mean, from Benin to now known as, areas of Nigeria, and also to, I mean, we don't even want to go into all the ancient Nile Valley artifacts and literally removing of sarcophaguses and so forth from those areas, right? And then all across the world from other ethnic groups as well. So yeah, I'm glad they're doing that. I mean, even when we talk about here in America, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't have any specific examples right now about, some of our items that need to be returned here in America for Black Americans, but I'm pretty sure we can come up with some examples at a later date.
Yeah, definitely give the artifacts back. A lot of hidden history being squirreled away by white supremacy. Speaking of white supremacy, grand jury declines to indict woman 87 whose accusation led to Emmet Till's killing. And this is a report from August the 9th. A grand jury in Mississippi has declined to indict the white woman whose accusation set off the lynching of Black teenager Emmet Till nearly 70 years ago, despite revelations about an unserved arrest warrant and a newly revealed memoir by the woman, a prosecutor said Tuesday. After hearing more than 7 hours of testimony from investigators and witnesses, a LaFleur County grand jury last week determined there was insufficient evidence to indict Carol Bryant Donham on charges of kidnapping and manslaughter. It is now increasingly unlikely that Donham, who is now in her 80s, will ever be prosecuted for her role in the events that led to Till's lynching. So it looks like justice will not be served, even though the family, has recently spoken up about it. We even spoke with Patrice Sterling, one of his family members, was interviewed on ETN Media, and they were pushing to see this, that justice was served and that the warrant was honored. But looks like that didn't happen and is not going to happen. And like one commenter on Twitter said about this, they're like, they got a whole Emmet Till anti-lynching bill, but will not bring justice to the person responsible for his lynching. So, I mean, just the irony in that.
Yeah, hopefully, the family will be able to take this to a higher court. I mean, I don't know the legal implications to all this, but
I mean, what's higher? A grand jury in Mississippi. So you're saying that this might have to be federal?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Time's running out. They need to do something quick.
ASAP.
Yeah. Justice delayed is that justice denied.
Yeah. All right, speaking of justice being denied, let's go ahead and see some of the updates for Breonna Taylor.
4 current and former Louisville, Kentucky police officers have been federally charged in connection with the death of 26-year-old Breonna Taylor. She was shot and killed by police during a botched drug raid in March 2020. The Justice Department alleges 2 of the officers falsified an affidavit that was used to obtain a search warrant of Taylor's residence. A third is charged with conspiracy in the incident.
The affidavit falsely claimed that officers had verified that the target of the alleged drug trafficking operation had received packages at Ms. Taylor's address.
That false affidavit set in motion events that led to Ms. Taylor's death when other LMPD officers executed that warrant.
Prosecutors say as police entered Taylor's residence, her boyfriend fired one shot towards them, believing the officers were intruders. Police then opened fire. One officer has been charged by federal prosecutors with using excessive force after allegedly shooting 10 times into the residence through a window and glass door, both covered by blinds and curtains. CNN has reached out to the attorneys for all four of the officers for comment. Two were previously fired by the police department. The agency said Thursday it had started termination proceedings for the other two officers still on the force. Josh Campbell, CNN.
So, it looks like they're firing the officers. I didn't hear in that report where anyone has gone to jail. And as commenters have been pointing out, they're being charged with civil rights violations. They're being charged with lying to obtain the search warrant, being charged with excessive force, but nobody is being charged with the murder of Breonna Taylor. So that's not on the table. So we'll see what type of time they end up getting on these charges.
All right. Did you want me to take this one?
Yeah, that's all you.
All right. Nursing homes are suing the friends and family of residents to collect debts. Lucille Brooks was stunned when she picked up the phone before Christmas 2 years ago and learned a nursing home was suing her. "I thought this was crazy," recalled Brooks, 74, a retiree who lives with her husband in a modest home in the Rochester suburbs. Brooks' brother had been a resident of the nursing home, but she had no control over his money or authority to make decisions for him. She wondered how she could be on the hook for his nearly $8,000 bill. Brooks would learn she wasn't alone. Pursuing unpaid bills, nursing homes across the industrial city have been routinely suing not only residents, but their friends and family. A KHN review of the court records reveals the practice was ensnared scores of children, grandchildren, neighbors, and others, many with nearly no financial ties to residents or legal responsibility for their debts. The lawsuits illuminate a dark corner of America's larger medical debt crisis, which a KHN NPR investigation found has touched more than half of all U.S. adults in the past 5 years. Litigation is a frequent byproduct. About 1 in 7 adults who have had health care debt say they've been threatened with a lawsuit or arrest. According to a nationwide KFF poll conducted for this project, 5% say they've been sued. The nursing home industry has quietly developed what consumer attorneys and patient advocates say is a pernicious strategy of pursuing family and friends of patients despite federal law that was enacted to protect them from debt collection. The level of aggression that nursing homes are using to collect unpaid debt is severely increasing, said Lisa Nelly, a Massachusetts elder law attorney. In Monroe County, where Rochester is located, 24 federally licensed nursing homes filed 238 debt collection cases from 2018 to 2021, seeking almost $7.6 million, KHN found. Several nursing homes did not file any lawsuits in that period. Nearly 2/3 of the cases targeted a friend or relative. Many were accused, often without documentation, of hiding residents' assets, essentially stealing. The remaining cases targeted residents themselves or their spouses. Medical bills can shatter lives. North Carolina may act to de-weaponize that debt.
Suing their friends, did you say? Yeah, that's what you said. Okay, I'm not sure how that works, suing their friends, but sounds like something needs to be done about that. All right, and it looks like there's a case of a lynching suicide in Los Angeles. This report was posted on August the 9th. Burning body found hanging from tree in Griffith Park is apparent suicide. Park rangers found a dead body burning and hanging from a tree near Griffith Park merry-go-round Tuesday, police said. Police arrived at the scene around 1 p.m. after passersby saw a fire burning in a tree and saw a human body at the center of the flames. They alerted park rangers, who called the police. The fire department put out the flames and found the human remains. Police determined that the person, whose race and gender have not been determined due to extensive burns, died of self-immolation. The body was still hanging in the tree, obscured by foliage, around 2 p.m., with police waiting until the coroner arrived to bring down the body. 7 officers stood by and taped off the scene. A detective told the Times that there is no evidence at the moment of foul play, and the department has not identified the victim. The detective said the body might be of a local transient.
So, self-immolation.
That means setting yourself on fire.
Yeah. Very interesting. I guess you could do that, but
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Another report that I read, they were talking about, we don't know if the hanging happened first or the fire happened first. It's highly unlikely that you're going to set yourself on fire and still have the wherewithal to be able to get up there and hang yourself too. So there's that. Also, they're saying that in this report that the gender and race could not be identified due to extensive burns. I think I've seen images of burned Black people, so I think you can tell what race they are if they're burned. And I also saw some updates that it was a woman, and that's all we know at this time on that.
Okay. Homeless people wait as Los Angeles lets thousands of federal housing vouchers go unused. After 3 decades living on Skid Row, punctuated by brief stays in hotel rooms and shelters, she was approved in January to move into an apartment where she could begin to build her life with help from a federal housing subsidy program. The residencies of Hotel Alexandria had a studio available immediately. The massive brick building began its life in 1906 as a luxury hotel and was repurposed in the mid-2000s as a mixed-income apartment building. But the 50-year-old never moved in. A government agency tasked with helping people get into permanent housing bungled the opportunity, said Jameen McPante, a leasing agent for the residencies of Hotel Alexandria. The Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles only had to approve Robin's paperwork and do a quick inspection of the apartment, McPante said. But employees at the Housing Authority, known as HACLA, never responded to emails and calls, McPante and Robin said. As weeks of silence turned into months, Robbins fretted she would lose her chance at a life with a roof over her head, a lock on the door, and private bathroom with running water. Instead, like the vast majority of the more than 3,000 people and families who have received emergency vouchers in Los Angeles, she remains in limbo. Although the Housing Authority has distributed all of its vouchers, it has had little success getting recipients into permanent housing. As of Thursday, Van Natter said only 196 emergency vouchers have been leased out in the city of Los Angeles, meaning that people have used them to move into homes whose landlords have received initial payments from the Housing Authority. That's about 5.8% of the vouchers the city received from HUD more than a year ago. Only 3 emergency housing vouchers were released out in the city of LA between May. In between May. Didn't get the other part. Other California cities have had far higher rates of success housing people who've been issued the vouchers. Santa Barbara's Housing Authority, for example, was awarded 89 emergency vouchers in July 2021. HUD granted the city 25 more because by February, the entire first allotment had been used to put people in homes. It's a pretty long story, so the LA Times did do a story on this. So if anybody listening to this wants to read more of this story, go to the LA Times.
Yeah, you know how I feel about these housing departments. It sounds like the one in Santa Barbara, did you say? It's doing pretty good. Seems they're doing their job getting the resources out to the people that need them. But here in Sacramento, I know, and it looks like LA, looks like they lack and they need to get the resources to the people. Or face some kind of accountability. Something needs to happen.
Yeah, and just before we go on to the other story, that Griffith Park story, that's in Los Angeles, correct? I don't think it mentioned it. Okay, yeah, I'm very familiar with that park, so I noticed that.
You know the merry-go-round and everything.
Yeah, I noticed. I was like, man, that looks like Griffith Park in Los Angeles, but they didn't mention it in the article. So
that's where it was.
Wow.
Okay. Black unemployment nearly 100% higher than white. The BLS released the employment situation July 2022. The most important information is that the jobless rate fell to 3.5% as the economy added 528,000 jobs. The over 20 million jobs lost in the COVID-19 driven recession have been entirely replaced, and the jobless rate is back where it was in February 2020. The recovery is nothing short of remarkable, particularly because GDP dropped in both the first and second quarter. The BLS said take several other cuts at job data. These include unemployment by city and state, and the information is also analyzed by race. In July, Black unemployment was 6%. The jobless rate among whites was 3.1%. The Black jobless rate is 94% higher than the white figure. Unemployment among the groups were as follows. Male unemployment was 3.2%. Among women, the figure was 3.1%. The figure was 2.6% for Asians and 3.9% among Hispanics. The reasons Black Americans have higher jobless rates than whites falls into several categories. The Economic Policy Institute reports that among the primary reasons are racism, and single adult households where one person tries to care for children and hold a full-time job at the same time. The American Progressive reports that the spread between Black and white jobless rate goes back to 1972 when the BLS started to gather monthly employment data. It gives incarceration, the rate of which is higher among Blacks than whites, as another reason. Mass incarceration plays a significant role in the lower labor force participation rate for African American men. Educational attainment is another reason. Whites tend to graduate more high school and college at higher rates than Blacks. None of these reasons can be taken alone, according to many experts. They represent a web of problems Black Americans face as they try to enter the workforce. One thing almost all experts agree on is that they will not go away. And by they will not go away, I believe they're talking about the problems, this web of problems that they mentioned in the earlier sentence there. So, yeah, almost 100% higher, and they're not counting the involuntary servitude slaves that are trapped in the penal system, still working for free forced labor.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, those are some pretty I mean, I can't say startling numbers. I don't know.
Well, speaking of startling or not, depends on who. point of view you're looking at, a search warrant at Trump's Mar-a-Lago. It looks like it's been pursued by the FBI here. So let's get into it, shall we? FBI executed a search warrant Monday at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Palm Beach, Florida, as part of an investigation into the handling of presidential documents, including classified documents that may have been brought there. 3 people familiar with the situation told CNN. The former president confirmed that FBI agents were at Mar-a-Lago and said they even broke into my safe. He was at Trump Tower in New York when the search warrant was executed in Florida, a person familiar told CNN. My beautiful home, Mar-a-Lago and Palm Beach, Florida, is currently under siege, raided, and occupied by a large group of FBI agents, Trump said in a statement Monday evening. The extraordinary move to search the home of a former president raises the stakes for the Justice Department and comes at Trump's legal problems continued on multiple fronts. Trump is also expected in the coming months to announce he will launch another bid for the White House in 2024. The Justice Department has 2 known active investigations connected to the former president, one on the effort to overturn the 2020 presidential election in January 6, 2021, and the other involving the handling of classified documents. The search began early Monday morning, and law enforcement personnel appeared to be focused on the area of the club where Trump's offices and personal quarters are, according to a person familiar with the matter. The FBI search included examining where documents were kept, according to another person familiar with the investigation, and boxes of items were taken. Following the National Archives recovering of the White House records from Mar-a-Lago in recent months, the FBI on Monday had to verify that nothing was left behind.
So sad. Too bad. All right. This is how much money. Yeah, speaking of sad and too bad, this is how much money you need to make per hour to afford rent in California. Los Angeles, a new report reveals the disparity between minimum wage and the cost of an average 2-bedroom rental in different U.S. cities. According to Out of Reach, in no state metropolitan area or country can a full-time minimum wage worker afford a modest 2-bedroom rental home, and these workers cannot afford modest 1-bedroom apartments in 91% of U.S. counties. The Out of Reach report from the National Low Income Housing Coalition revealed Californians are among those who have it the worst. According to the report, the average Californian needs to earn an hourly wage of $39.01 and work full-time to afford a 2-bedroom apartment. In most of Orange County, workers would need an hourly wage of $44.69, the data shows. In the Los Angeles area, the number aligns with the state average at 39.31. In San Diego, renters would need to earn a minimum of 42.92 in order to afford a 2-bedroom apartment. Head up north to the Bay Area, and it doesn't get much better. In San Francisco, residents need an hourly wage of $61.50 to afford a 2-bedroom rental, the report shows. That's the most expensive in the state.
Man, that is crazy.
Yeah, put a 1 in the comments if you earning $61.50 an hour, fam.
I know, right?
Right.
Chuck E. Cheese, deeply saddened after mother posts video of mascot ignoring black child. Chuck E. Cheese corporate office said the company was deeply saddened after a family posted a video showing its mouse mascot ignoring a black child during a party at a New Jersey location over the weekend. Netanya Muhammad, 29, posted a video Sunday of her 2-year-old daughter, Safa, at a Chuck E. Cheese birthday party in Wayne the day before. In the video, the mascot comes out and offers high fives to a group of children on the stage who all appear to be white, and then ignores a small black girl who tries to get the character's attention. The video has been viewed more than 3 million times on Twitter. I stopped recording. I actually taped Chucky on his arm to let him know that Safa was standing right there, and he ignored me, Muhammad told NBC News on Wednesday. Safa had never seen Chuck E. Cheese in person, so her mother was excited to get her reaction on camera. Muhammad said their family was in the party room because Safa was a guest of one of the birthday parties. She said the mascot didn't go to their table at all until a manager pushed it to.
So Chuck E. Cheese getting in on the racist action too, I see. I mean, that's just really a shame. Like I said before, with the incident that happened at Sesame Street Place, they're just conditioning our young children to, accept disappointment early. Don't set your expectations too high, and you won't be disappointed. IRS, 87,000 new agents will absolutely not target middle-income Americans, and absolutely not is surrounded in what basically equates to air quotes. The head of the Internal Revenue Service said that the tax collecting agency will absolutely not use $80 billion in new funding to step up audits on low and middle income Americans. IRS Commissioner Charles Redding tried to reassure the U.S. Senate in a recent letter about the 87,000 new agents who will be hired as part of the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. The legislation includes $45.6 billion for enforcement-related funds, which make up more than half of the appropriations. The resources in the reconciliation package will get us back to historical norms in areas of challenge for the agency, large corporate and global high net worth taxpayers, as well as new areas like pass-through entities and multinational taxpayers with international tax issues, where we need sophisticated, specialized teams in place that are able to unpack complex structures and identity. Reddick then added, these resources are absolutely not about increasing the audit scrutiny on small businesses or middle-income Americans. He wrote that our investment of these resources is designed about the Department of the Treasury's directive that audit rates will not rise relative to recent years for households making under $400,000. Last year, the nonpartisan watchdog Joint Committee on Taxation said it anticipates that between 78% and 90% of the estimated $200 billion that the IRS will collect as a result of the bolstered workforce will come from small businesses. President Biden and the Democratic Party have insisted that Americans earning less than $400,000 annually would not have to pay a cent more in taxes. But the Joint Committee on Taxation disputes this, saying that between 4% and 9% of the money collected will come from businesses that earn above $500,000 a year. So it looks like, the small businesses might be targeted. And again, the article is a little longer. If you want to check it out, it's on the New York Post. We always include a link on our slides if you want to see more. But it's just saying that they think they're going to go after small businesses because they won't be able to, fight back as easily. They don't have the deep pockets to fight back as the larger corporations do, tie things up in court. So we'll see if it affects small businesses. They could have just put they could have just put a clause in to say that it doesn't affect small businesses as well as individuals. But anyways, 87,000 new IRS agents doesn't sound pleasant for anyone in any regard, in my opinion.
All right, so Native American tribes gets its land back after being displaced nearly 400 years ago. The Rappahannock tribe, a native tribe in Virginia, has reacquired 465 acres of sacred land at Fawn's Cliff. Secretary of the Interior Deb Haaland and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Director Martha Williams celebrated the tribe's reacquisition of the land Friday, according to a press release from the Department of the Interior. "We have worked for many years to restore this sacred place to the tribe," said Rappahannock Tribe Chief Ann Richardson, according to the Chesapeake Conservancy. "With eagles being prayer messages, this area where they gather has always been a place of natural, cultural, and spiritual importance." Fawn's Cliff is the ancestral home of the tribe, located on the eastern side of the Rappahannock River in Virginia. The area located inside the Rappahannock River Valley National Wildlife Refuge will be publicly accessible and placed in trust with the Bureau of Indian Affairs. The tribe plans to educate the public about the history by the tribe's reacquisition of its land was made possible by the family of William Dodge Angle, who provided the funds necessary for the Chesapeake Conservancy to purchase the 465 acres and donate the fee title to the Rappahannock tribe. Additional funding also came from a grant from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation through Walmart's Acres for America program, according to the Conservancy. The acquisition follows a growing movement of indigenous people fighting to reclaim their land. In 2019, the Wyatt tribe successfully reclaimed their ancestral homeland of Dulawat Island on the northern coast of California after over a century of displacement. And earlier this year, more than 500 acres of California forests were returned to a group of Native American tribes. For more CNN news and newsletters, or actually go to CNN for more information about this story. So it's very interesting. I mean, when they're talking about Bureau of Indian Affairs, because this upcoming Sunday on August 14th, please tune in to Emmet the Mass Media Group on our YouTube channel, because we are going to be talking about the new Freedmen's Bureau, what it could look like, and maybe this is something that if we haven't talked about before, maybe we can talk about, land as well, maybe being part of the new Freedmen's Bureau.
Yeah, we need to be hitting up this. What is it called? The Walmart Foundation, Walmart's Acres for America program. Yeah, what's all that about? Can they, help the American freedmen get their land back?
I know, especially after what was the Homestead Act?
Yeah,
that was passed. And Black people didn't. I mean, there was a handful of Black people that were actually able to take advantage of it, but most of those went to white people or white immigrants. So
yeah, $5 Indians, we don't know. But yeah, so the Native Americans, it seems that they're successful in getting some of their lands back. Again, this article states that it was written on Monday. Again, they're doing that, hiding the date where they actually posted. I don't know what all that's about. I mean, just trying to sow confusion, I'm sure. But this was this past Monday the 8th, just for clarification. So this just happened, happening now, and something to keep our eyes on.
All right. So I think that's about it, right?
Yeah, that's it for In the News.
The way it currently stands, forced labor, slavery takes precedence over rehabilitation and public safety.
Oh, by the way, while the Biden administration gives reparations to everyone but freed people, look at the billions he has run over to Ukraine.
We don't have Black grocery stores because if you think about it now, just to get in that supply chain, it's almost unheard of.
They don't want the truth to get out. Okay? I don't want to know what my family did or what all these people did and all this stuff like that. Okay? You read that 500-page report.
There's this thing called white superiority and Black inferiority. That mindset allows all of the behaviors that we've seen across generations, allows for the construction of these policies and practices and systems and structures that continue to oppress us. This is not a handout. This is a debt that is owed.
You know, Allensworth was like the internet of his time in 1904, 1905.
The total black population in California is about 2.6 million, and then of that, the descendants compose about 2.2 million of that. So California, with a multi-billion-dollar surplus, can absolutely afford to satisfy the international terms for reparations, beginning with compensation.
Any financial obstacle that exists that impedes the success of increasing financial prosperity needs to be dealt with and eliminated.
No matter where we've been, no matter what part of this fight we've been in, we've been harmed, and we've had harm done to us specifically.
When I got to Los Angeles, this was some of the worst segregation I'd ever seen. And remember, I'm telling you, I'm from Mississippi.
Because as you can see, I'm giving you broken history right now, you know? But I had to give it to you guys today. I said, no, I gotta show them this because it's so precious and nobody really knows about it.
Black people don't have that kind of luxury. Our historically black communities have been redistricted multiple times.
Now listen, if you can't handle the TR roof, don't tune in.